I started off in the trades when I was 12 years old. My brother-in-law told me, you'll make 60 grand a year, 70. By the time I was 19, I bought my first house.
So what are the biggest levers that you're pulling to increase the valuation, drive more revenue?
Looking at a company that's not branded well, the rugs are dirty, there's no personal information on their desk like pictures and that type stuff. There's no culture.
What was like the highest exit?
I took a $600,000 company to about 20 million in 2 years.
At what point does it stop making sense to try to get the big ticket exit and just like keep cash flow coming in from?
Yeah. BlackRock is a perfect example. $17 trillion under asset.
Do you think it gets to the point where the industry just becomes dominated by those bigger players?
At some point, the federal government is going to have to come in and say, hey, this is a monopoly at this point.
What would be your advice to the trades guy that wants to scale his business and potentially sell it? And what's your advice to the private equity guy that is very disconnected from what the real life experience of the people running and performing the day-to-day stuff in this business is?
Find yourself a mentor that's been there. Grab a couple of them. Start surrounding yourself with where you want to be.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Trade Ops Radio Podcast. Today, I'm joined by our guest, Keith Flores. Keith, you've got quite the rap sheet, dude. So I'll let you introduce yourself a little further, kind of give us the breakdown for anyone tuning in who's not familiar with who you are, kind of who you are, what you do, and give us the quick history rap sheet, if you will, of kind of like where you started and everything that's gotten you to the point we're at now.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Quick rap sheet. Let's see. Definitely started off in the trades when I was 12 years old. Brother-in-law worked for family business and did a side job, which is a big no-no, but, he didn't mind. He asked me to go do a side job with him. And one day on a Saturday, he took me with him. He told me, go underneath that little crawl space and go underneath the house and pull all the ductwork and so forth. And I'll be up here talking with the client, basically. And so I literally went underneath the house. He showed me what to do, pulled it all off, started reconnecting the ducts. It was like 6 duct runs underneath the house, very small, very simple, lots of room. And we got in this truck, drove back to his house. He told me, come back tomorrow, ride your bike over tomorrow, and I'll pay you. Rode my bike over tomorrow, the next day, and he goes out into his freezer, pulls out a stack of cash, and peels off $200. I get on my bicycle and ride away going, what the hell did I just do? And I literally went back to his house and said, hey, when's the next one? And I was hooked ever since. I was, very young getting into the trades, of course, but I also had, school, and I had, sports I was playing, and, I played a lot of soccer. I traveled to Europe playing soccer, but throughout the whole time, I knew what I wanted to do in life. I literally fell in love with the blue collar trades. And a big impact was Matt Nilsson, my brother-in-law. He was a big impact on my life and my career because I always looked up to him. I always thought like, that's what I want to do. And one of the reasons why, because he could do anything in the heating and air conditioning field, from being a 10 knocker to installing, 100-ton units, chillers, and whatever else. I just always looked up to him, and he always like took me under his wing. And by the time I was 19, I was like, I could do anything in the trades, and I was, service, install, running big projects and so forth. There's nothing like it. And the reason why I say that is like, I used to love stepping back at the end of the day and seeing what I did. I come into my office now and I look at the mess on my desk and I'm like, I just want to go back out into the field, So then from there, I springboarded, left the family business. We had about 300 employees, big company, new construction only though. So not very profitable for one. Two, a lot of misdirection and so forth. And, the possibilities, even my brother-in-law told me, you'll make 60 grand a year, 70 topping out. And that's pretty much, that's a good living, which it is a good living, back then, especially, you got to remember, I started off when I was getting paid $2.15 an hour. It's crazy. And, lots of side work, lots of side work. But it gave me a great springboard to, get my name out there quite a bit back in the day. And I had a guy reach out to me and ask me, you know, to go to work for him. And I just kind of, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm happy where I'm at. And he told me I'll make six figures. And I was like, wrote me a check for $20,000 sign on bonus.
Hmm.
And by the time I was 19, I bought my first house. I took that 20,000, put it as a down payment on a new construction home, the little down, blah, blah, blah. And after that, I literally did not look back. I fell in love even more, and I started into the retro division, and became a really good installer. Learned my ways around that. Did a lot of piece work. I very rarely had apprentices working with me, only because I wanted all the money, because I had to pay out of my piecework. And then I got one day I go into the office and they tell me there's no work for the installers today. And I said, well, what do I do? And they said, well, just go home. And I said, no, 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 no. What am I going to do to get me work? And they go, here, run this service call. It's 10 years old. And I went out there and I literally ran it. And I was like, started fumbling through it, and homeowner asked me a couple questions. I said, yeah, I really don't do this. I'm a installer, and we had no real work today. So they asked me if I could run this call. And next thing I know, I'm sitting down at the table talking with them. And this is when we had direct connect. And I'm talking to my boss on the phone, and he's sitting there going, what the heck? And I'm like, hey, Luke, can we get a better price for this client? I mean, they're awesome. Betty is just a phenomenal lady. Her husband and her both want a new system, and they'd like me to install it for them. And next thing I know, they're delivering equipment to me. Out on the job, I sold it. And then the next day, I went into the office and everybody's like asking me what I did. And I told them, and I was just straight up with the people. So my boss, started having me run more and more service. And next thing I know, I was turning him in install. So I was double dipping a lot, started making a ton of money. And, next thing I know, I kept on leveling up in the company. But the problem was they were keeping me in the field. They were smart. I was basically a GM, but I was still in the field, which made no sense to me. So they were just giving me a title all the way through. And, I literally was just kind of shock and awe. And I saw what he was making, because I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes, and it's like, I could do this. And the guy that gave me my name, I go by HVAC God on all social media and stuff like that. And the guy that gave that to me was a service tech at the time at the same company. And he said, hey, we should go into business together.
Hmm.
All right. He's going to use his dad's license. And so that lasted about 3 months, only because I didn't really know who he was. And we had a really crazy ride for 3 months. He had his own personal demons and so forth, and never been down that path. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do this on my own. I went out and I bought 10 trucks, 12 trucks, something like that. Went out and rented an office space, put logos up, bought a bunch of billboards, hired a full staff. Mind you, doing this without a license yet. I thought I walk into this CSLB, I take the test, they give me the license right there after I pass it, we can start work. So we were teeing everything up for the following Monday after I took the test. And we had a full docket. We had calls lined up for everybody. We were ready to go. And I go take the test, blow right through it, get my license. I'm finishing up, and I go, so what's my number? It's, oh, we'll mail it to you. So how long does that take? 4 to 6 weeks. Wait a second. I got a full staff. I have trucks, and so it definitely was a learning experience for me, and took a leap of faith. And I had to pull some more money out and pay everybody. I kept everybody on staff, just kind of setting up the trucks better, or doing work around my house. It was a learning experience for me. And then built that company really fast, sold it. Um, didn't really know what I was selling at the time. Thought I was rich, whatever. And I was probably 29. Um, I ended up leaving the area where I was in and moving on to the company that took over my company and ran one of their biggest locations out of Las Vegas. Built a pretty good name for myself out there. And then from there, moved on and kind of, I hate calling it saying this because I hate them, a consultant, coach, whatever you want to call it, because I was at this big firm that was doing, 600 million a year. And we were, you know, I learned so much during that time to start teaching technicians like what proper, what's not proper, and then the back end of the companies as well. Left there and ended up getting chunks of other companies because people couldn't afford what I was charging, so they split the money with whatever I grew the company to, and I'd get 50%. Then on top of that, I would do a 2-year buyout, like they can buy it back from me or I can fair market value. So I did really good with that. And then the last one not so well. And fast forward to now, it's about 5-6 years ago, I had a big falling out with the guy that brought me on to build his company. We built the company. We got an offer for 15 million. We were gonna split it, and he was just like, "Dude, we can keep going. We can keep going. We can keep it like." But the problem was he had an office there, and he was sleeping all day long. So I'm the one that driving revenue, understanding that I can, and I kept on telling you, you got to pay attention to what I'm doing. I left. That company went out of business within, I think, a year because he didn't pay attention to it. So within a week of leaving there, I started HG Home Services, and that's where I'm at now. Um, we provide, a luxury service for a very high end clientele. We call it a white glove service. We pretty much only service a 5 to 6 mile radius of our office, which is in Corona del Mar, Newport Beach, California. Um, the houses out here, are anywhere from 5,000 to, we're doing one, I think 38,000 square feet. And we provide solutions and options that are outside the normal realm. We do a lot of space pack. We do a lot of, unconventional type stuff for these homes. That kind of brings me full circle where, I also, during that time, the reason why I started another company was to start a hardware and software company, to develop new products for the industry. And, hopefully that gives you a pretty wide range of like where I've been in the industry. I, little quick story, the HVAC got a lot of people go, "Oh, this guy thinks he's something, like he's above everybody." Nah. We were walking across the parking lot. My old buddy had got Jesus on the back of his truck. And I said, "If you're Jesus, I'm God." About 6 months later, I had the license plates. He gave them to me. And then after that, probably 2014, 2015, I incorporated it, trademarked it, and kind of did all the right stuff and just left it sit there. But yeah, that's my history in the trades.
There you go. Quite the impressive rap sheet and history. So many things, questions pop into my brain already. I'm ready to pick your brain and get into some of the nitty gritty of that. I think we'll kind of just follow the trajectory from maybe where you first kind of started getting into, buying and or taking equity in businesses and stuff like that. One of the biggest things I think would be interesting for me, like out of my own personal curiosity and probably for a lot of the people watching as well, is like, so when you're acquiring or becoming a partner with the plan to exit, what are the biggest things that you're looking for in the business? And then also, what are the biggest levers that you're pulling to increase the valuation, drive more revenue, and just overall like build that top line up?
So first, I always look for, the age of the business and how long they've been stagnant for. If they've been sitting there for 10 years and sitting in the same spot. Most of the companies that I took on were, smaller, very smaller, much smaller companies, you know, um, doing new construction. They they dabbled in the retrofit, but did a lot of new construction, and they didn't know how to take their new construction guys and shift them over to, you know, retrofit. So like, and making sure, the business owner, I always tried up front. It's always, hey, we're a team. We're all in it together with me and the other owner, and I learned over time that's never the case in all these type deals. As soon as they get a little bit of more money coming in, I should say, all of a sudden they're gone. They're buying new things, they're playing around and all that type of stuff. But what I'd really look for is like the opportunity of like looking at a company that's not branded well. Their employees are just not vested into the company. When I mean vested into the company, you walk into the business and the rugs are dirty. There's no personal information on their desk, like pictures and that type of stuff. Everybody just kind of goes there to work. There's no culture. You go out to the trucks, they're broke down. They got, old wraps on them, or not even wraps. They're using their own personal cars. I look for opportunity like that because I know that I can go in there and just turn up the heat really quick and get people excited and motivated. So those are kind of the things. And then looking for guys that want to exit eventually. When the guys are like that eager to do something and they can't afford, I won't say what I charge, but can't afford it, I look at them and always go, dude, you've been in business, the probably the most successful one that I did was, you've been in business for 35 years and you're hovering still at the same $8 million. You walk into the business and it was like, you walked out to their warehouse. The first thing I looked at was the warehouse. And I went, how old is some of this stuff? They had thermostats from like 25 years ago still sitting on little shelves and stuff. You couldn't even see what they were. There was so much dust on them. And I was like, what? Why? Well, we might use it someday. Like, how do you even know if it works? What, like, who's keeping inventory, blah, blah, blah. And that company, was a very easy turnaround because the first thing I did was walk into that business and I said, let's talk to all the vendors, see what vendors are going to buy all your inventory back. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, let's find a vendor that will buy all your inventory back. And he had 15,000 square foot of warehouse completely packed, storage racks and all this stuff. And we talked to all the big vendors around and, everybody's going, what are you doing? I said, I want all this off my books. So give me, whatever it is that you feel. So we gave him the inventory. And, we had a couple $100,000, or it was more than that, at this location. This one, we had probably about $1 million worth of inventory, but it was old. I said, look, you take it, you go put it in one of your big warehouses off to the corner and we'll buy it back from you as we use it. But give me, $700,000 in credit. So give me $700,000 in credit and write me I think at the time, a $200,000 rebranding fee, basically. And we'll switch over to you guys. And he went back to corporate and came back and was like, yeah, no problem. So they wrote us a check for $200,000, gave us a $700,000 credit. So we didn't have to pay for anything for 2-3 months. And then on top of it, we were able to take that $200,000 and get all the vans relogoed and branded. And all they wanted was a picture. I won't tell you what brand it was, but they wanted a picture with basically a logo of the manufacturer on there. And that's what the $200,000 was for. So I go, dude, I don't want to put your brand on there. He goes, just take one van, one picture. It could be a magnet. Do whatever. And so we threw a magnet on there, took it, and they covered everything for us. And then I went through and met with all the new construction guys, and I brought in my own guys, and we literally just built one big team, put everybody's in uniforms, bought the entire company all new trucks through Enterprise Fleet. And we got both sides to be happy. We didn't want, these guys fighting these guys and that type of stuff. And we went through the office, remodeled the office and cleaned it all up. And we did it all on, our distributor's budget, that's what I look for. I look for guys like that you can see opportunity, that has been doing it the old school way. And nothing against mom and pop shops, nothing whatsoever. But you know, when when we become owners, it's typically I'm a service technician. I think I could do it better, and then all of a sudden I go out there and try and do it. Next thing I know, I'm in the grind, and you're just stuck in the grind. So a lot of these guys don't know what to do, and then get stuck there. So we put them on. We got them off of pen and paper. We did all this stuff that should be done. And they knew it should be done. It was a big fight between me. It's always a big fight between me and accounting. Um, Accountants always know best. They know how to grow revenue. And I always sit there and just go, look, you guys are doing it wrong. Like, let's just. And he was open enough to just be like, he's in charge. Let him do it. Let him roll. And it worked out really well. And that's happened twice. And then the third time, I took a $600,000 company they were doing 600,000 a year to about 20 million in 2 years. We cranked it. It was the same type thing, a 30-year-old business working out of the garage, and nobody knew who was doing what, had a massive call center, keeping everybody going. And, just in the end, he wanted to keep going. He wanted to, grow it to a $50 million company. And he didn't realize that I was done, and watching him, get a lot of reward from all my hard work. I walked in one day and told my wife, hey, this one's not going to work out. She's like, then get out of there. So I did.
You've talked a lot about like different revenue ranges where it's like you're entering and then exiting. And it sounds like there's a couple different points where it's like between this number and this number is a good entry where it's like established enough as a business, but there's still a lot of room to grow. And then it sounds like 15, 20 million. What was like the highest exit value or like the top line revenue, the highest, or the biggest company where you're like at the time of your exit? I'm just trying to get an idea because, like, from your perspective, like, to even come across the table and have it look like a good deal, what's a good range to get in and buy? And then when's the ceiling where you're like, okay, this might be a good time to like cash out? You know what I mean?
It really depends on every company, especially right now with private equity. Private equity, I do a lot of M&A. I do them for the big boys and the little guys. So it could be, some guys right now are looking for $2.5 to $5 million companies because they just want a bunch of tuck-ins. Those ones, you're not going to get the big top dollar. You're going to get, I'll tell you right now, about the going rate's about 5, a multiple of 5 of whatever your EBIT is. And then you start jumping up from there. I think the sweet spot is 5 to 10 is where you can come into a company because then they're established. They got some stuff going. You come in 5 to 10 million. They're probably doing, 12%, net profit. It's very simple to jump them to 18 to 20. Get that, 5 to 10 to 15. And then between 15 and 20 is a great exit because then you're jumping up in multiple. You can get anywhere from 8 to, you hear the stupid multiples. Most of them are BS, but you can get anywhere from probably 8 to like 10 at the most if it's running really good. There's a lot of add backs typically on the smaller companies, but I think those are like my sweet spots personally. Now when you talk about the big boys, the big players, the big private equity groups, we did a deal. It's been over a year now. It's almost been 2 years. I did a big deal where we did the M&A and they bought, they spent about 210 million on a $180 million business. Lots of challenges. The, private equity, those guys are, Harvard, Yale guys that we're smarter than these dumb blue collar guys. They didn't go to school. They barely graduated. That's me. I'm barely graduated. But they don't understand that there's a lot more involved with doing these deals, and don't go and look and see that all these big salaries. And first thing they do is wipe all those guys out. They bring in all their young college frat guys to run these companies and tank them. And then it's like, I told you so. And then they bring in somebody that's, very seasoned in business, but don't understand our business. And as as me as a blue collar guy, if somebody came in, and it happened to me years and years ago, somebody comes in and takes over a business and they don't know anything about the trades themselves, but know the numbers. Great, good for them. But I'm not going to take direction from them because they've never been in my shoes. They had never been in, 160-degree attic and trying to get the systems done. And, they're back at the shop yelling at you going, hey, why isn't this job done yet? You're going, dude, you have no clue what's going on out here. You come out here and do it. So, the bigger boys, there's a bunch right now that are being sold left and right. You saw Blackstone just came in and bought. I know BlackRock's getting ready to do a big purchase that's going to shock the world, I think. They're buying 3 major companies. But those are the bigger players. And then there's like the smaller private firms, like, the family funds that are looking to buy 4 or 5 companies and kind of hodgepodge them together. There's, I have a couple friends that are buying, 5 or 6 companies around the $2 to $5 million. They'll get them up to 15, dump them in 2 years. I feel like it really depends where you're at in your company, but like if you're in the 2 to 5, it's a great spot, but you got to find like either a mentor or somebody that can help you get to that next level that can be a part of your company. Maybe it's 2 days a week, maybe it's 5 days a week. It depends what type of deal you want to work out to get you to the next level if you don't have nobody to pass it down to.
Right.
There's very few large privately held companies anymore. If you think about it, there is very few of the bigger players out there. I know the Blantons, Will and Shannon out in, I think it's South Carolina, Raleigh. They're massive. They're over 100 million and it's their company. It's a, 100-year-old company. His grandfather started it and they're doing things right. They've built a monster of a company, and I don't think they plan on ever selling that company. Most guys that size would jump out because they're going to get a huge payday. A lot of the flash in the pan companies, you hear, I've been in business 5 years, 10 years. I grew it to, $200 million, whatever the number is. And I got paid $200 million to get out. Nah, come on, man. No, you didn't. No, you did not. And then you talk about, the big players out there, the Leland Smiths. I don't know if you know who that is. Service Champions. They just sold to Blackstone. Well, Champions Group just sold to Blackstone for, I think it's $2.5 billion. You got the Ken Goodriches that own Gettle Heating and Air. He just got out. And he's done it multiple times. Those guys are legends. You got Gary Ellicks is another legend in the industry, done it multiple times. The biggest thing that I've learned from all these guys in the industry is culture's huge. Culture is massive. If you don't have a good culture, and that's, I even struggle with it here because we're not a big company. We're 10 guys in the field, 11 guys. I'm not trying to grow the company. At first I was going, I'm going to go big. Nah. I'd rather do my hardware and software company. And so we're about 10 guys, sometimes 12 guys in the field. We've never laid off anybody in 5 years. We don't do any advertising whatsoever. We are all word of mouth 100%. But we do take on some crazy projects today. I think we're setting 60 tons today in commercial. And the only reason why we do commercials, some of our clients have commercial buildings that they own in the area and they would like us to do that. I don't know. I don't plan on selling this one. This one, I plan on just keeping it as long as I can. Let my kids take it over. I'm very big on next generation because we all know we're losing a generation right now. There's 500,000 people that we're losing out over the next 3-4 years for the trades. So, yeah, there's no sweet spot really. The sweetest spot I can find is like the 2 to 5s, the 5 to 10s, if they're willing to give you enough equity to make it life-changing for you too. Cause then you can bump it up and get a nice multiple.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, 100%. With Okay, so it's like you've got the guys that are selling or bringing on partners from 2 to 5, trying to exit for 15 to 20 once they get there. And then you've got the bigger players, the private equity groups, family offices, whatever, that are buying the 15 to 20s and trying to take them to whatever, 50, a million or 100 million, 200, whatever. At what point is the strategy the whole way up the food chain, just like M&A, like buy a couple of them, roll them up, and then just try to get a bigger and bigger multiple every time? Is there somewhere where that caps out? Or at some point, are they looking at it like, if this business is doing 200 million, we're probably like the the people that our business would be in their buy box is so small that like we have to wait 5, 6 years, whatever, for the right buyer. At some point, does it reach the point where it's like there's not enough people that would be qualified to even buy this business with the revenue and the multiple we should be getting for it? Do we just keep it for the cash flow? Like, is that the end game? Or at what point does it stop making sense to try to get the big ticket exit and just like keep like cash flow coming in
Yeah.
from?
That's a great, it really depends, where you're at in life and what you project success is. For the private equity guys, most of the time, it's if they're buying the smaller ones, their goal is to 2 to 5 years, package it up and have enough meat on the bones for the next bigger guy to buy it, right? Well, now we're getting to the point where now we're dealing with BlackRock. BlackRock is a perfect example. $17 trillion under asset. They're probably one of the top three biggest private equity groups. They're buying right now. Their purchase, what I've been hearing, the numbers are insane. Well, what they're going to do is just hang on to it for cash flow. Hopefully they can keep it going in the right direction. That's the big concern. If it stays in the right direction, the companies they're buying they're going to pick up, call it 22% EBITDA. And so that's cash flow. That's money coming in. They'll gain a point here. They'll gain a point there. I don't know what their exit plans are for those. I do deal with Blackstone quite a bit, but there is opportunity out there for those guys to double down and keep on buying, because I think what's going to end up happening is you're going to get, Goldman Sachs just bought a company. You got Blackstone, you got BlackRock, you got all these big guys buying these companies. I think what's going to end up happening in my own vision, my own head, is they're going to start talking to suppliers. And they're going to start making these big deals with suppliers. They're going to go into carrier and going, hey, we're going to buy everything for this company that we're doing, call it $3 billion a year in heating and air, 7 billion, whatever it is. And we're only going to buy from you, but we want better pricing. So how now are you going to be able to compete as mom and pop? Yeah, your pricing, they're not going to raise prices on you, but you're not getting that price that they're getting. And so they're going to basically dominate the market that way. You're not going to be able to compete against these guys with, the marketing funds that they have, the reach that they have. And then a lot of people, and I'm sure you've probably seen it, the chart of private equities that are in our space right now, and then how many companies they own. Most of them aren't doing roll-ups. They're not doing the tuck-ins where they buy one or two and then tuck it in. They're all different companies. So people think that they're calling, Keith's Heating and Air over here and Jeff's Heating and Air over here, but it's still the same company.
Yeah.
All behind the curtain, it's all the same company. So I know a lot of guys that will have like 3 or 4 companies in the same city, which you shouldn't, and they're in one door, out the other door. And it's the same company. So their pricing's all the same. So you still think you're working with the same or different groups, but you're not. So I don't know the end game. I wish I did so I can invest. But I know my hardware and software, I'll talk about it later, but the hardware and software that I've developed is basically going to shave a lot of points for them and our technicians and everybody else to help them on warranties, frivolous calls, that type of stuff. But warranty, you can whittle down some points there. You can start making some money. Retention hub is what I call it, really, because for the marketing expense that you got to spend, Is there hope for mom and pop out there? Yes, there definitely is. There's always going to be a mom and pops around. They're they just gotta step the level of their game up and really understand that, hey, we can't just take all this money and go buy a new boat and be balling out of control. You got to put it back into the company to make it look like you're one of these big players out there. And that's what we've done here at HG Home Services. We look like we have 75 trucks in Newport Beach because we're on PCH. So when in the mornings, all our trucks are all lined up here in the morning during main, and there's not really traffic here, but main work hours, as these guys are rolling out. And we stay in such a tight hub, everybody's seeing us over and over and over and over and over. And everywhere we get a chance, when I say we don't do marketing or anything like that, we do branding. So like every chance we get, we do giveaway for hoodies, hats. We have third Thursdays that we do, like it's tonight, where the whole city shuts down the street behind me on PCH, and we set up a big tent out front. We do giveaways and that type stuff. That's the type of marketing. We do lots of social media stuff. But that makes us look like we're one of the big boys out there.
Right.
That's a big thing. And a lot of guys go, well, they're going to think we're paying too much because we got all these brand new trucks. No. What people have to realize is if you have an old truck, say it's 5 years old, you got 115,000 miles on it, that truck breaks down, how much money are you losing? That's where people have to realize in their head, like, hey, and if you go to like, that's terrible because I'm switching right now, but if you go to like Enterprise Fleet, you can buy directly from the manufacturer. You're getting below sticker. You build the truck exactly how you want it. Yeah, you got to put 10% down, but nothing hits your Dun & Bradstreet for your company. Nothing hits your personal credit. So that's the way to do it. And then they'll tell you how long that truck will last you in our field. So say it's 2 years. Okay. Then in 2 years, you'll be paid off and you can trade that truck in and they'll give you another one, brand new one, already wrapped, already set up. They bring it to your office and you start it up and drive away. So, a lot of people worry about, everybody thinking these guys are going to be expensive, this, that, and the other thing. One thing I always tell guys is like, you got to tell them in a company meeting, what it costs to run a business. And so when I go into a meeting, when we have new guys or new office staff, we call build a company. And we ask them, what do you think it costs to run this company? And we just go line item by line item and let them tell me the numbers. And then they go, well, how are we not bankrupt? Because their numbers are always higher by the time they add it all up. And I go, exactly. This is why we charge $600 for a turbo cap. Because a lot of people, you hear, I'm sure everybody always hears it. Oh, how can you? Everybody thinks we're all ripping everybody off. No, it costs $220 to roll a truck. People don't realize, I had one of my assistants in here the other day and they looked at my workman's comp, what I had to pay for the month. And they're like, that's tripled. I'm like, yeah, state of California, thank you. But they don't understand that that's what it takes to run a business.
Yeah.
All the way to the uniforms.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
100%. Do you think with the private equity stuff, since we're getting to the point where it's like you said, you've got the big fish with trillions of dollars in asset under management where they're buying up all of the mom and pops or the guys that are doing a meaningful amount of revenue and they're not rebranding it. They're keeping it the same. They're flying under the radar where, like you said, you think you're getting prices from different competitors, but it's all the same company. Do you think it gets to the point where everything just kind of gets homogenized and there's like 3 or 4 big private equity groups that own such a big percent of the market share where it's like, no matter what, the mom and pops will have their place, but like the industry just becomes dominated by those bigger players? And then for them, is it a possibility where, like you said, they're starting to work out deals with the manufacturers and the people producing like the actual equipment? Could they maybe like start stepping horizontally and like buy the HVAC companies, get that to hundreds of millions or $1 billion plus, whatever, rolled up with everything, and then they buy like the manufacturer of the machine itself, and now the margins get cut on that, their prices, they make their own prices essentially if they could do something like that, where it's like they just keep going up the food chain, I guess, with the or supply chain with the business and all the pieces that are involved. And it's like at that point, like,
How do
you're
you
making
survive?
a shit ton.
How do the little guys survive? Yeah, I think that, I've been very blessed to be in the position I'm in right now because I've got to meet, these big private equity guys, and it's because of the software and hardware that I'm building, and like they're really interested in doing something. Um, and they've, taken me out to dinner and stuff, and I get to see the big picture. And two things I want to say: we're recession proof, pandemic proof, right? People love us for that. We keep on growing in revenue, and we keep on getting better and better at business. I think you're 100% right that they're gonna start like owning everything, right? At some point, the federal government is going to have to come in and say, hey, this is a monopoly at this point. Because the next big purchase that I see coming down the pipeline right now is going to happen probably within 4 to 6 months that I can't talk about, but it's going to knock the socks off of everybody in the industry because the big boys are buying three of the largest private equity backed groups that, I mean, it's going to be, you know, that company will now be probably doing $5 to $6 billion a year in heating and air, and it's one company. Oh man, that's going to be hard to compete if they're in your area, and they're pretty much in every area in the United States. So, but they're all under different names. So it's going to be very hard to compete. Yeah, their prices are going to be high because they got to pay for that, right? They got investors that want their money back out of it. They see they need to get their money out of it. So what they're going to be creating is they got to find where the bottom line is going to come from, right? They got to find out, how, okay, we need to buy this manufacturer over here. We need to do this over here. We need to do something. But also they are building, sales teams that are like nonstop, like ruthless, will not take no for an answer. And a lot of people I keep on hearing, well, they're going to screw up the industry and it's just going to go away. They're going to go away and then we're going to come back. That's not going to happen. These guys are too big. They're too big to fail. So what will happen is, yeah, you're going to get some of them dropping off the face of the planet and people will pick them up for pennies on the dollar, but not the big players. The big players will be around for a long time. They don't buy businesses without looking deep into them. I mean, I've got to be on that side of the table and I'm shocked of how deep they go into it. And then they ask for our advice, and I'll give them all the advice in the world. And the first day typically is they throw my advice out the window because they got some bean counter going, no, we can cut everybody's, wages in half and we could do this. We can get rid of this guy. That usually blows them up. And then it takes, a year or two for them to turn those businesses back around, but they don't realize like what most guys don't realize is, oh yeah, they're losing money. They went the wrong direction. They're not gonna take a loss. I know a company right now that literally spent $150 million on a company. They got it down to probably call it 100 million right now. And I offered them, a group that I represent offered up 200 million. That'd get them out of their problem that they're going in reverse. And they said, no, that would make us look like we're losing. We don't lose. And this is a smaller private equity firm. So I was just kind of in shock, but that showed me their mentality. They're like, we don't lose, and they're not going to. And then you got, the other challenges. You got a lot of big guys out there. I won't name no names, but they do all the flash and, they got all the cars and then, it's, if I could do it, you could do it. It kind of reminds me of Jordan Belfort, type deal. And they're sitting in front of their luxury houses and cars and all this type of stuff. A lot of it's rented. A lot of it's like rented success. So those guys are getting, all these guys to buy into these, 1-day conferences or 2-day conferences. Be well aware of what you're buying into. There is some really good guys out there that give great information, but then there's the ones that are out there that are doing these, really shady type conferences and stuff. And that's what I worry about. It's most of our guys in this industry, the younger guys that want to make that quick buck, they got to understand, you got to put some time into the trades. It's not going to be fast. It's not going to be easy, but understand where you want to be in the end. Give it a 10-year plan, 15-year plan, whatever it is, but understand that there is the one-offs that have done really well. Good for them. Happy for them. But then there's also the one-offs that tell you they did very well, and maybe they got 10 million bucks on a, $200 million company. That's a terrible crash and burn. But they show it to be a success because they got a couple shekels in their pocket, and they don't tell you that they only got that. They tell you a different number. Those are the ones that, like, I really are gonna. You say private equity is gonna ruin the business. Those guys are the ones that are gonna ruin the business. Those guys will 100% ruin the business.
Sure. So if I wanted to start an HVAC company today, and I'm going to fall into that mom and pop category for a little while,
Yeah.
what chance do I stand, or what edge do I have over the bigger players? Like, what are the things that I can do right to actually get that going and be successful with it? Where are the big guys that where are they still blind? Where me as a smaller company, like, I actually have an advantage, being a genuine, real, authentic, local mom and pop, whatever kind of startup, if you will.
Where you had the advantage that none of these guys are doing is like what I do. I go out, I wear a suit every day, which, kind of throws people off. Because I'll go out and do a crane lift. Like a couple days ago, we were out doing a lift, and, I go out, I meet everybody I can. And everywhere I go, I pass out business cards. Maybe that's a little old school, but I pass out business cards. I'll be standing somewhere, and well, it just happened to us 2 days ago. I'm standing at the grocery store, and literally some older lady comes over to me and goes, "I love your suit and blah blah blah. I wish people would dress more like you and blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I was just born in the wrong era." And she goes, "What do you do for a living?" I told her I'm a contractor, and she goes, "Oh, what type?" I go, "Well, I have a general contractor's license, but I mainly focus in on mechanical, and so heating and air conditioning as well." You know what? We're getting ready to buy 2 systems and blah blah blah. And this other company, they were way out of range, but they said, I'm getting what I pay for and all this stuff. And I go, "Oh, and they told me who it was, and it's a big private equity backed company." I go, "Yeah, they're a really good company. They're phenomenal. You should let us come out, just double check everything. Just let us we won't charge you. Let us get our eyes on it, and give it a shot. Let us see, and we'll go out there no charge." And so we went out there, no charge. We ended up selling it for about $14,000 more than what the other company was doing, the private equity backed group. And the reason why we were $14,000 more is because those guys want 70 to 80% closing ratios, right? So they go good, better, best, whatever. But they start off very cheap, and then they go middle and better. We go out there and provide solutions. So like a guy like you can go out there and not go after, you like some jobs will show up and they're getting ready to put a brand new system in, and we're called out for a second opinion. We go, "Why are you putting in a new system? The system's 6 years old. Let's do this, this, and this. Clean it up. You'll be fine for another." I don't have a crystal ball, but you should be fine for another 4 or 5 years. We just captured that client, and they're not going anywhere. So the difference is like, you're not going to be so worried about your closing ratio. You're going to be worried about branding. And when I mean branding, the biggest advantage you have is like everywhere you go. Like on my personal vehicles, it says HG Home Services. On all my company vehicles, it says HG Home Services. Everywhere I go, I have a stack of hoodies in my truck, hats, that type of stuff. I pass them out to everybody because I want people to see us all the time. And that's where I think the biggest advantage could be if you're starting off very small budget, like it's very simple to do too. Or this is a big find a guy in your area that's 60s, ready to retire. Say, "Look, let me start coming in your business. Let me draw a very small salary, but I want to buy the business from you. So this is what I want to do. You can retire, but your company is a $1.5 million company. You're not going to get anything from private equity. You're not going to get anything from a VC, no family office. So let's do this. Whatever we sell out of your customer base, I'll give you, call it 8%. We'll call it a marketing fee. You being now the new owner, you're going to pay this guy for the next 5 years, 8% of every customer that you touch from his marketing base. He's going to get, and that's his retirement fund, right? That way he's not getting hit by taxes. That way he's not getting hit, and he's going to make some money because you're a better salesperson than he is. He's outdated now. You can spruce up the company, and you take over an old customer base because he's probably not touching his old customer base. And that's a very easy right in. And you all of a sudden, next thing you know, you took $1.5 million to $4.5 million in less than a year. Because now you're putting your own flair, and there's never the right time. I'll tell you that right now. There's never the right time. You don't know when. Like everybody goes, when's the right time? There's never the right time, but you got to go all in with it. Like you can't tip your toes in it. And like, I know a lot of guys that work for this guy over here, and they're, doing their side jobs and trying to build up enough, or they're, advertising on the side. You just got to go all in. And those two ways, that's two drastic ways. Like you got to go out. If I was to start my own business today with no money, I would go to Ford or Chevy or whatever, buy 2 trucks. You got a service tech and an install crew. And then I would drive my own. And I would get a tiny little office. If I had no money, just get a tiny little office. And now with AI, you got AI assistants that will answer the phones and all that type of stuff for you. And it sounds like a real person. Get a little website, Binky website going. And that way you have an install crew, a service tech, and you. You're out there selling and installing, but you can't grow the business if you're going to be out there every day. So that's why I say 2 trucks plus yourself. So then you got 3 trucks basically going. You can get into trucks for peanuts on the dollar nowadays. I mean, they got so much inventory sitting. And within 6 months, you're going to have probably 3 or 4 more trucks on top of that. But stay away from the big marketing, the PPC, all that type stuff. Like you can't compete, especially out here. You cannot compete with the private equity guys doing pay-per-click and all that. I would be more branding like my local stores. We do coloring books. So every holiday we send out, I'll show you. And you know how it's funny because I learned this probably, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I hope I have them. Usually I have some certain. Maybe I know. I do coloring books. Of course, I don't have one with me. Oh, here's one. You know what did this? ChatGPT.
Yeah.
ChatGPT did a little coloring book, and we made a little story for Christmas, and we got or this is Thanksgiving. Sorry, Thanksgiving, and we just did like a little coloring book. I went out and bought 5,000 of these, had them made, right, and we dropped them off at every local restaurant with a little pack of color crayons. Cost me nothing because it's like this is 10 pages, right? Cost me nothing, but just these. We do it all the time. We were at a restaurant 2 weeks ago, and I'm sitting at the restaurant, and this guy walks by me. He looks at me, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Shakes my hand. I'm like, I don't know that guy, man. I really don't know that guy. And a little time goes by, and he comes back. He goes, coloring book. That's where I know you from. And I'm like, what? And he goes, sorry, I didn't really know you. I can place your face, but I didn't know. And I'm like, yeah, that's us. So HG Home Services, right? Yep. And that's, you got to think outside the box. Those, private equity guys aren't doing that type stuff. Or you take them to all the preschools and do Captain Energy and do a little thing about energy savings and Green Planet and all that other stuff. And take them to the little preschools because they're going to carry them home. They're going to sit there, draw on them. They're going, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. They're going to remember this. It's the outside the box thinking is what I really like. I enjoy doing that type of stuff. And that's not marketing, that's branding. And that's all that's about. You'll be able to outbrand those guys quicker than they can do it because they don't know their brand most of the time. You know your brand better than anybody else.
Yeah. I think what you said is huge, and you dropped a couple of gems in there with the coloring book and stuff like that. Like those are the unique little things where the the advantage that you have or the edge that you get is you can scale the unscalable. And a lot of times that is the in-person human interaction piece where the bigger groups are not doing that. I've talked to some of them, I've worked with some of them, and a lot of times their strategy is brute force their way into a market with the PPC and the paid advertising, all of that stuff. And what you don't realize as a local, smaller competitor is that like they're driving up the price on all of those ad platforms and you're not going to have the budget. So I think you're 100% right with that. And the tiny little, like the coloring book is fucking genius, dude. I love that. I hope you don't mind if I steal that idea and pass
No,
it over
that's
to
why I put
Mark
this out there.
because that's fucking genius, dude.
I put that out there because we love doing it. It's very simple. ChatGPT does it for you. I got the highest chat, I pay $200 a month for ChatGPT. That should be an ad right there, but I put it all in there and I just say, hey, create a Easter one, create a, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what holiday, create one, create a summer's coming one, a spring, fall, whatever. And then I go out there and just like all our technicians carry them on their trucks and they pass them out to homeowners and stuff like that. We get so much love out of those. And then the other thing is, make
It doesn't
sure
feel sleazy either. I like
no,
that. It's honest, you know what I mean? It feels like because it's one of those things that not everybody's doing, it kind of has this like soft edge to it where it's like, yeah, okay, it might be marketing, whatever. Like we know you're trying to get customers from it, but it's a kid's coloring book. Like, and also the fact that no one else is doing that, no one else is thinking about it. It's like, oh, this guy's creative. It's different. Different is good and different is memorable and different is going to be the thing that pops into someone's brain when they're ready to dial up and, get a new system or a new whatever. So yeah, dude.
that and the other big one that I think everybody's missing is when, as a technician, I used to pull up to homes and if I saw a for sale sign, I'd call the office and go, hey, this house for sale, just letting you know I'm going to be about 15 minutes. There you go. Go inside the house for sale. You're talking with, 2 real estate agents and what's wrong, what's not wrong, and then leave, 0 ticket. I look at it the opposite. I'm gaining a client and also might be gaining another client because they might be staying within the same city. So we really go after like those houses for sale and we dig deep into them and we show the clients, both sides, why they should do this, why they shouldn't do this and that. And then we go meet with the real estate agents and we go to the real estate agents and we always say, hey, look, we're not going to pay you guys for it. But think about this. You don't have to go through Yelp to dig up a good company. You don't have to go through Yelp to find a plumber, electrician, HVAC, roofer, all that. We'll take care of everything for you because we have all our contacts. And then they give us the inspection report and then we thank you. Now let us go figure out what it's going to cost you from there. And they all love it. They all love it. They keep us so busy. And from them to rental management property companies, because they have to sit there and find people all the time. They have to find people that are taking care of these homes, that need painting, they need a new roof or whatever. But we end up getting all that information and hanging on to it, knowing the age of the equipment, knowing and we'll call back every now and then and see how things are going. We'll definitely logo everything all over, the equipment and stuff and sticker it. But that's kind of where the little stuff, because no private equity guy is going to go out. Those companies are not going to go out chasing real estate leads. We will. We do. We probably 50% of our business is from the real estate leads. It's insane.
And it's valuable for them too. I mean, if they can, I'm assuming part of the piece there is like, okay, if you're selling the house and you want to get as much as possible for it, they're going to look at the HVAC unit. They're going to look at the roof. Like you said, they're going to do the inspection of the house. There's some other little stuff like the landscaping, whatever. I don't know if you guys, how far you spread out into like, if you're kind of the GC where it's like you have anything and everything. I mean, for them, even just that in and of itself is valuable where they have one contact and they know that they're vetted. I mean, because the upside is, they replaced the HVAC system, they replaced the roof. Now they're going to get X amount more dollars for the sale of the house. But if they get the wrong contractor, that could also have the reverse where now they're, losing
Yeah.
equity on the sale because the system got fucked up. They had to do it twice. They got over all that stuff. So it's like the value for them is they know they're not getting screwed, and there's a higher chance that they actually get the outcome that they want, which is making more money on the sale. Same thing with the property management guys, where it's like their cash flow on rental units is razor thin. So
Yes.
the wrong HVAC or the wrong roofer or the wrong whatever, like those jobs can basically make an entire property not profitable for a year, 2 years. So having the right guy that's vetted, trusted, and is well connected kind of with all the other moving pieces, that's hugely valuable for them too. And having one point of contact, if you guys kind of have your fingers in all of that, is
Well, I think
convenient for them too.
I think like I look at it this way is like every HVAC guy has his roofer, his painter to do touch-ups. They got to cut through Spanish tile, so we got that roofer over there. We got you got a pool guy over here. You got so many different as HVAC guys, we have to know pretty much every trade, right? So then from there you have built these relationships with other people. So you can take care of everything if you're not a general contractor, but still you just tell these guys, "Hey, look, this is my client. This is what I want to do." And they we have been so successful with that. It's insane. At one point I we were doing mortgages. Like because people were wanting to refinance a house and they wanted a new kitchen or something. And you know what's great about the real estate agents is they they built so much rapport selling a 5 million. Our house out here, like the average house is like 3 million bucks, but a 5 million, 10 million, $12 million home. They got a new person living in that home for the next 5 years. Their only point of contact is probably that real estate agent. So when something goes wrong, that homeowner's calling that real estate agent, and that real estate agent goes, "Oh, okay, let me find you something." They're going through I almost said the yellow pages, but like Yelp, looking through Yelp, going, "Hey," instead they just call us.
Yeah.
And most of these people, they want a flagpole put up on 4th of July weekend. They can call us. We'll make sure it's taken care of. They just don't know who to call, so they got to start going through the yellow pages, and that's where we're yellow pages. Yelp. We really like focus in on that because I feel like that's a massive, massive win that nobody's doing. Even when we first started doing it, I was going, "This is not a good idea. This is not. This is going to go nowhere," And I met two really nice real estate agents, and I really liked them. And they asked, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Next thing we know, we're doing everything, and it was good. It's been good for us. So
I
this
can
is a hard to retain
verify.
this way.
I'll say, yeah, I can verify 100% of what you're saying. I moved at the top of this year, and for the first like 3 to 4 months, the only person that I had in my Rolodex for this new area was the real estate agent, and she connected us with a bunch of other people that we needed too. So what you're saying, 100% true. She is the person that we use to kind of like start to branch off. Now we're at a point where it's like, okay, I got my lay of the land, but you
Yeah,
don't just drop yourself off in a new area, especially if you're moving from out of town, out of state. Your network is now zero. You got to start from scratch there. So yeah, the real estate people are huge connection, and
rad.
personally can verify that that is 100% true as like the consumer, the end, uh, person on the other side of that too. So for sure.
Yeah, it's really it for me. Like a lot of my buddies that go through the trades with me and stuff, and been here for a long time. Seriously, that's working. I'm like, look, you got to be persistent with it. If you're not, then it's not going to work. But you got to be staying on top of it. You got to stay with it. Make sure you're having those relationships. When they do like they do third Thursdays here, it's a lot of real estate agencies are out here. A lot of community is out here. So I make sure one of my team members are out there, or I'm out there personally, or anytime. Like I try and get involved as much as I can. And if you're not, and they're not seeing you all the time, they're just yeah. They're not going to think you're not going to be top of mind. Just put it to you that way. And that's where one of the things, I pay probably quadruple rent for my office compared to anybody else because I'm in Corona Del Mar on this luxury alley lane right here, which is all the real estate agents, all the big luxury builders, all the interior designers. Now, I did that for a reason, is because they see us. Oh yeah, the guys with the solid black trucks and just big HG on the side. Yeah, those guys. And that's we we were very like people go, dude, you pay so much for your rent. I'm like, it's a brand, dude. It's a brand. People don't want Bubba coming out and not being able to trust the person in the house, not being able, like, there's so many, like, blue collar. We have the worst thing in the industry, and it's only going to get worse with the all the private equity coming in there. Not the appearance wise, but they're going to think we're thieves for what we charge, and it's just going to get higher and higher and higher. So that's kind of where I stand. I'm like, it's a different game.
Right on. You got any more kind of guerrilla marketing tactics or slept on lead generation channels that most people have no clue about?
Um, Man, I really I love the coloring book. That's probably one of my favorite ones. Social media. So social media, I'm like, if you look at our HG Home Services Instagram, it's fun. It's not telling you how we installed this. Nobody cares how you installed that. It's all about fun, like camaraderie in the business. It's about, like, we just did that. So I don't set that all up. One of our girls do. And Corinne, she just, like, she sees something funny and she's like, all right, let's do that. Let's try and do something like that. And like, they just did the Olympics for 2 weeks. And there was like, you know, relay races out in the parking lot, who can drill the fastest, like stuff like that. But people always talk about us because of our social media, and we've grown it quite a bit. I think, home services as like, we'll call it 5,000, but we only mark, like, in our area, like we pay attention to that area, like what's coming up. We talk about, the big boat show this weekend. We talk about, Thursdays, Thursdays a lot. Like, we build our social media content around the community. Most people go out there, well, if you're not hiring the right contractor, you're going to get this. And then they show how it's supposed to be installed or what type of equipment they should buy. They don't care. Like, you're not going to get anything out of it, or you're going to have, free estimate, advertisement, or $49 tune up. What are you getting for $49? What are you getting for $39? Like, realistically, what are you getting? You're getting a guy showing up at your house, digging and digging and digging to find something broken in your system. I'm not saying they're breaking it, but what are you getting for that? Because I know personally in my area, it's $220 to run a truck. So why would I take that loss? Right? It's the hopes that you're finding something that's broken, or a free safety inspection. And believe me, I used to do it all the time. You're pushing for, hey, find something. I really focus in on, like, not advertising on there, more, hey, we'll do some giveaways, we'll, be more one with the community. And it's not always about heating and air conditioning or water filtration or stuff like that. Yeah, we do show some of the big projects we do and that type of stuff, but the most stuff we get is like off of what's going on in the community. And that's a big one. I think that people focus too much on, you know, are you welding with nitrogen, or soldering with nitrogen? Are you, we got a variable speed system going in this, and blah, 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 blah. They don't care. Yeah. Find things that people care about. Water quality, people care about, and air quality, people care about in their energy usage. Those three things. Give little tidbits about it, maybe here and there. Like, we have, I think it's Man Talk Thursdays or something like that, and we give a little tidbit of how you could do something better at your house or something. We have, like, she hasn't broken out to like how it does it, but again, I tell her all the time, look, grab ChatGPT or whatever, Gronk, whatever you use, put a level of what you want, what days, and then it will spit out information for you to come up with the ideas too as well. So there's just so many different. Use AI. AI is probably the number one thing on all the little guys' side right now. Like, you're not having to pay for big, PPC campaigns. You're not, like, it will tell you what to do.
Yeah.
All my text.
Yeah. I'll say that the homeowner doesn't really care how the sausage is made. and educating on them on that is not going to be the thing that actually gets them to convert or become a customer, right? Like the social media is social in the sense where, like you said, we're building a brand, we're building connections with people. And at the end of the day, if you think about branding and marketing as just we're going out and we're buying market shares, all we're trying to do. Now, that doesn't mean we have to spam ads trying to sell our services. Getting the impressions and getting the eyeballs. We live in the world of an attention based economy, right? Now, is a homeowner that's scrolling on social media, the highest performing ads look like content, they don't look like ads. And what you're talking about is the perfect example of that, where it's like there's a bunch of guys, grown blue collar men doing a relay race in the parking lot of the thing, but they're all wearing HG uniforms, and the branded truck and wrapped up truck is right behind them. So it's like the impressions, the logo, the branding is still there, it's present, but it's in the background. It's not like the point of the content. And that is, if you make someone laugh, like you're halfway there. You know what I mean? As far as getting someone to know, like you, trust you, which is the core pieces of like what's going to be the difference between if they choose to, hire you guys or someone else. So I think what you said there is probably the piece that a lot of guys are missing. And
I think
it's
a lot of them miss it because they hired somebody to build a website and said, this is what we do. 3 days a week, we're going to post this. And nobody cares about that stuff, man. And I've been down that path. I have friends that own companies that's all they do. And I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing, man? But to the flip side, the everybody's paying attention to the biggest companies out there, right? And what are the biggest companies out there doing? That. But if you're a little guy, you should be focusing on keeping your trucks clean, your guys clean when they're at their gas station, passing out business cards, when they're at the gas station, having their shirts tucked in, when they're at the, like, always, always, always know that somebody's watching you. And that's what we really focus in on, you know, from, spotting the trucks out on the road to you name it. I really focus in on the brand and how it looks. If it looks clean, people are gonna want you. Like the other day, I pulled up to one of our trucks and the van doors were open, the side door was open, and I walked up, had a little cones out, old school. I was happy to see that it was immaculate, and they were doing a full blown cut in, and I'm like, everything that was out in the side yard was out in the side yard, all packaged up nice and neat, not just bags of flex everywhere. That's the type of stuff that, like, the branding part, because we send somebody out right away, that particular job, right away. Hey, Corinne, can you get somebody out here? Can you come out and just do a quick video shoot? That's it. So we'll send stuff like that. But that's a big difference from us and the other guy talking about the new refrigerant.
yeah.
Hurry up, get this because you're going to go to the new refrigerator. No, shut up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about SEER rating because most people don't know what the SEER rating is anyways. If you go out and install a heating and air conditioning system today, what's your response to a client when they say, how do I know I'm getting a 20 SEER system? Most of the time, the response is the same. Says it on the yellow tag. And we match it up, and there it is. Okay, well, how do I know I'm getting that? Well, you'll save on your utility bill. But hold on, how do I know? Like, if you get an engineer, and that's what happened with me 8 years ago, 9 years ago, well, how do I know? And this engineer told me, 1 out of every 100 get tested in factory conditions. Okay, so how do I know? So that's where, nobody cares about SEER rating right now. Now, the market's going to shift once we launch our product in Q1, but knowing real-time information and that type of stuff is, I think, crucial. That's where, we are going to market my new product. It's called Home Guardian. You can look it up. Anybody can look it up. We're going to market directly to contractors, and it's going to set those contractors apart from everybody else for marketing, for brand content, and being able to take care of the client. It is built 100% for the contractors by a contractor to retain the client, but also the client having full transparency over their home. So some of the things that it does, real off the top of my head, is like tells real-time ear rating. So like it sold a system for us last week. We put one in one of our clients' house. He has 3 systems in his house. The 4th one he didn't want to change out. He's like, we very rarely use it. Okay, great. We put it in. 3 systems are running at 16.5 EER. One's running at 1.9. Which one's the one running at 1.9? The 14-year-old system. I didn't even know it would be at 1.9, but I was thinking like maybe 8 or 9. And he looks at it and goes, "Hey, Cole, I need a new system." As he's looking at it, he's like telling us, and we're like, "Oh, hold on, let's see if there's no. I need a new system. I want to match the other ones." Okay. We chat with this, so we're giving real time ear rating. Once he gets a full year in the house, it will give us SEER rating because it's seasonal energy. We can tell you real time utility bills and what's your highest, energy consumption, the top 5, and then it has all the rest in your house. What's startups and that type of stuff, what's getting ready to break down. We do water quality, real-time water quality. So what you're bathing in and tap water and everything else. Roofing. Nobody's ever had anything that tells you before your roof leaks. Now we have something that we can put in your attic that tells you before your roof leaks. We can tell you everything that's going on with static pressures, how much CFM, air quality. We're real air quality management where we can tell you, because we have fans built into our sensors, our nodes literally, they go 900 feet away through concrete. So they're not Wi-Fi. They're just wireless. They're our own technology, and we can place them wherever you want. You can place up to 4,000, which you'll never do 4,000 in a home, but like commercial buildings, restaurants, that type of stuff. And it's all the different nodes. But being able to tell people what's going on with their home is a dashboard. Like your car, you get in your car, you got a quarter tank of gas, $50 in your pocket. You're not going to drive to, from here, like Palm Springs and back. You'll never make it. Or your right front turn signal's out. You know who tells you that is your app, Ford Pass or whatever it's called. The dealership will tell you, and then you can see it yourself. Check engine light comes on, dealership's reaching out to you. Ours does the same thing. Ours tells you real time everything inside your home, electricity, water, tells you before you have a leak, a slab leak, tells you all this stuff. We're not controlling anything. We're telling you, hey, something's wrong on your app and a dashboard, and the contractor's getting the same alerts at the same time. So you can either go, "Oh, I just spilt a bucket of water in my kitchen. I don't need you." Or they're not paying attention to it. The contractor's reaching out to you. "Hey, I noticed high humidity levels in your kitchen. There's something going on." And they can send somebody out there. So like Nest does it, where they send you like, how was your energy consumption for the month? And all it's telling you off your thermostat. It's not telling you anything else. Or like most people are telling you to change your filters, your water filters or your air filters by timers. I don't care what's out there. They're not taking static pressure across the filter and static pressure across the coil. We do that. Like all the different stuff that's never been done before, it's all patented. Everything we've done, including the software, is all patented. But we literally have focused in on like full transparency of a home. So the client, a lot of people go, "Well, I don't want, people looking at my house. Where's that data going?" Well, a lot of people were against digital dashboards in their cars. You don't think that all that data is being sold to somebody? We have like the most high encrypted data collection stuff, but if you opt in and then you only want you and the contractor or just you to have that information, that's up to you. You can opt in or out of that type of stuff. But eventually this will become the norm because it's your most expensive thing in the world that you're going to buy, unless you're some multimillionaire buying some, $200 million yacht. But we have no transparency on your home. You got these smart home technology that's not really smart. It's dumb. We're reactive to everything. Now being proactive, we can see the startup amps on your compressor. So before 4th of July weekend, you don't have to gear up. You can tell them 2 weeks ahead of time, hey, this thing's running high. Just those type things and giving full transparency, because whatever you're seeing, the homeowner's seeing, because they can scroll through it and see what the startups are, what the CFMs are, like if they're techie enough and they want to see that stuff. But that's the future, because what it's going to be is a retention hub for you, because your name is on it, but you're getting all the alerts along with the client. We've had clients where they've changed out, say, $500,000 worth of heating and air, and then we go out 6 months later and they have all new water filtration. They got new tanklesses. We're like, hey, what about us? Oh, we didn't know you did that. So this is a true retention hub. And for $1,800, when you put it in your house, literally $1,800, $9 a month app fee. It's not Crestron or Control 4 where it's $500,000 and it can control lights in your TV. This is giving you real information. It's your EKG, tells you everything. And then on top of that, most utility companies are going to cover the $1,800. Most home warranties are going to cover the $1,800. Most homeowners insurance is going to cover the $1,800. There is so many ways you can get rebates, because we've talked with all these people and they're like, yeah, if we can get the, Edison, if we can get the electricity data and they're willing to opt in, so we know why this house is $200 and this house is $1,000, we'll pay for it. So that's kind of some of the stuff that, that's the future. That's literally, we're launching, installing 1,500 right now. And then Q1 is our big launch, is where we're going to production, and we're producing it all here in the United States. So we're manufacturing everything out of Houston, because we're going to the blue collar guys. So I wanted them to have something very cool, very like, hey, this is solid. I mean, look at the cases. This is the shipping box. I mean, that's, it comes with just so much stuff. It's like, we really put a lot of 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing.
Yeah. Can you show what the actual unit looks like?
Oh yeah. We have, let's see. This is the face. This is the head unit. This is going to mount on the wall. It's very small. 24 volts, right? Then we can go through all the different levels of stuff. So you got, let's see if I can get it out. Oh, they did such a good job on packaging. This will go in the electrical panel. It's magnetic. So you just pop it in, because I'm sure you've seen Emporia and stuff. They're massive and they're these big things that don't fit inside. This can tuck in anywhere. And so I'll get to the CT plants and I'll show you the difference on ours. These are for the HVAC side. These little things have little ports right here that you plug in for your static pressures. And then you got low voltage wiring going into these. 2 of them, one on your outdoor unit, one on your indoor unit. That's these two. You have a water quality sensor. If we can get it out. This right here is a water quality sensor. So it has 2 little plugs, and then you drop a node inside the main line. And it's basically like I'm drawing a blank, a saddle tap. And you screw it in, and then it's picking up all the water. Then you got another level in here. These little guys are my favorite, because you've seen water nodes where it's picking up water leak detection, and they have these 2 little nodes on the bottom. That these little things, once those make contact, it sends an alert and shuts off stuff. Well, usually those, right now, I can see these sit a little bit off the ground. So usually by that time it's too late. You already got water on the floor. Ours has that as a backup, but it's collecting humidity outdoor, indoor, and when it spikes, sends the signal to the dashboard and to your phone. Air quality. Yeah, this guy. I'm gonna tell him to loosen these up a little. Jeez. Air quality node. Again, everything's built so they have magnets, or you can screw them in. everything's built for contractors. The whole entire system's installed in less than 2 hours. This guy, we put fans in. So right now, like if you go to any indoor air quality system, it's stagnant air. It's just sitting there if the system's not running. Now, the system's running, it's pushing. We put fans in ours, so, and they're whisper quiet, so you don't have stagnant air. So we can tell you what's going on inside the home real time again. All these are battery operated, right? 3 years battery life. We were shooting for 10. It was like another $1 million. I'm like, I'm tapping at the 3. We're good. We're good at the 3. A big difference also we have, these go on the main electrical power nodes. CT clamp, very simple. So you got the whole house, so you can understand what your utility bill is. So now we can tell you before the bill comes, because usually you just get your bill, you got to pay it.
Yeah.
This tells you what your bill is running at. If you set on the thing, I want it to shut off, I only want to spend $500 this month. It'll, with AI built in and machine learning, it will start telling you, hey, shut this off. Start running this a little lower, that type of stuff. But the big thing that I liked about this was these little guys, if I can pull one out. You go to Emporio or any of the big brands, this is the CT clamp they put on everything. So they use one, they go all the way down. Look at the size difference. If you can see it.
Yeah, it's like.
So if you go into a panel, most electrical panels are already packed. You try and put these in, you're not getting hardly any of them in, or you're going to have to mount something on the outside and then get it all in there. So we went, again, installers, some engineer building something that he's never done before. That's, a big difference for us. We really went all in on this to try and do something very different. We also have, this is my baby right here. This is why it all started, was this guy right here. This right here will give efficiencies. So it's picking up so much stuff out of this little hole right here, and it's telling me everything I need to know. Basically what I did was I went to a engineer, spent a couple $100,000 on our tools that we use in the field, from electricians to plumbers to HVAC guys, and said, here guys, tear it all apart, build me something that's beautiful, sexy, and we can leave behind, and I want to sell it for under $1,800. No way, dude. A year later, they started coming back with things here and there, and then recently I brought on a whole nother team. I can't say recently; it's been over a year now. And they built, kind of went through everything and rebuilt everything to make it look cleaner. They wanted to make it smaller and more accessible for people to use. And so, yeah, this has been in the making. So we'll go back 9 years. I had a consumer ask me, I'm going to spend $30,000 on the system, but how do I know it's a 20-SEER system? So, well, the little yellow tag says it. Okay. Well, let me ask you this again. How do I know? And I couldn't come up with that one answer other than every 6 months we can have HERS testing come out and we can go through it and we can figure it out, and it'll probably cost, $600 to $1,200 every 6 months. He's like, I'm buying the system. That's odd.
Yeah.
That home, I went home that night, told my wife, started drawing out like a button on a wall. That was easy type button, or you could just walk up and touch it and it would tell you your efficiency for the day and how it's running and all that type of stuff. I spent probably $500,000 back then. The guys come back 6 months later asking for another $500,000. And all I had was some wire frames, and they just said, hey, we need another $500,000. I'm like, I'm too early. And then 5 years ago, when I started this company, I found an engineer and started talking to him, and he said, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, that could be done. Yeah, that could be done. And here we are.
Right on.
Done. And we got a great manufacturer. She owns 35 locations across the US, and she does all of Apple and Dell's like stuff for the United States. And she saw it and she was like, this is the next iPhone. Like what I want to be a part of this. What do I need to do? Blah, blah, blah. So she gave us some really good information of what we needed to do. And then my hardcore engineers are out of San Diego. Corey is phenomenal. Anytime I ask him, hey, can you do this? Yeah. And I used to have engineers that would say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they couldn't do it.
Mm.
He's went outside his realm for sure and brought in, he's hired his own software guys to try and figure out like, what's this, what's that, his own, like everything about Corey and his team have really like outdone themselves. Most of the stuff has never been done before. People think it's been done. It's real-time energy efficiency for a consumer without having tools everywhere. All the way to what your temp splits are, that type stuff. It's not Timo. That's what I call all the other stuff that's out there is just like crap.
Yeah.
It's like we buy it all. And anytime we see something new come out, most of the time they'll send it to me because they want me to post it on my personal social media. And I'm like, yeah, send it to me. And I get like a new thermostat, like send it to my engineers. They're like, why are you sending me this crap? I'm like, I just want to know, like, no, it's garbage. It's 10 years old. It's not new technology. It looks cool. Yeah, that's, we have this is my passion right here. Because I feel like the blue collar trades definitely need something to help them be proactive versus reactive. That's what this whole thing was being about like, how can we stop getting the client yelling at us all the way up into the attic because their air conditioner is not working? And then you come to find out the last technician that was out there didn't put the panel on all the way, or, they needed to change their filter and it's the holiday weekend and it's not working. Now we can you can touch a button on our screen or on the app and it ships a filter to you if you don't want us to come out to do it. But there's so much involved in this that I feel like, it's gonna be the way of the future. It has to be. We're talking with big builders right now. We're talking with big HVAC guys. We're talking with plumbers. We just did a thing with Plumbing Magazine. It's for the little guys, but everybody's gonna end up having it. But it's gonna be helpful for everybody, and it's a true retention hub. So our logo shows up at the beginning when you first touch it, Home Guardian. But then every screen after that, you can have your logo on it. And it's very simple to do. It's not something very hard to do. And the install, literally, we got it right now under 2 hours. And then if you want to add, if you have 5 systems, yes, it's going to take longer because you have more systems, that type of stuff. But you can add on any type of node. You can add, if you got 3 electrical panels, some of these houses out here have, 3 electrical panels. You're going to have to add 3 of these. So it's add, or water sensors, water nodes. People want, one behind every toilet in their house or under the sink. So that add. And we're not doing anything crazy expensive. So it's been a very fascinating journey for me. I have Peter Dragone, the founder of Keurig. He does all my financials for me. He got right involved. I got Bill Bauman. He is a technical guru he used to be the CTO for REI. Mark Katz, he was the CFO of Burlington, took him to an IPO. Like I went outside the industry and then, one of my first investors actually is from inside the industry. He is, I don't know if you ever heard of Dynamic Air Solutions, but, Steve Moores, he's the president, of Dynamic. He's all about indoor air quality. And then, got a couple other guys from the industry, that are heavily invested. And we're excited to finally launch this thing. We've been tinkering around with it for so long that we're at the point where we're production ready. Now it's time to go.
Yeah. This feels like Ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from this is like, it's the first couple people were like, no way. And then fast forward 2 to 3 years and every house has Ring or some equivalent of it. And I think that from the homeowner side of view, with everything going on in the world, I feel like we're shifting more towards a slightly more health conscious society as a whole. Air quality and water quality are things that I already spend money on in my living space to improve. And if I had the ability to open up my phone and know exactly what those numbers were, that would be cool for me. So for like the health benefit alone, like that's when you said that stuff to me, I'm like, that's what I'm thinking about. I was like, yeah, dude, I do care about the air quality. I do care about the water quality. For the contractor, obviously it's like a no brainer where, the pings of, hey, this person's, unit just short circuited or blew a filter, or, this thing just went wrong. This is a money making opportunity for you. And the homeowner is going to be thankful that you caught it early. It's great for the preventative piece as well. If it gets covered by insurance or others, like, bro, it's over.
Yeah, because like
Done.
I'm looking at the app right now. Excellent water quality right now at my house. And you go to like that's on the main. Let's see, one of our other clients. I can look. Their water quality. If you see it on there, it's showing. Hey, time to do something with your water quality. And people see that and they're going, what's that mean? And we start telling them like, hey, you got to do this, this, and that. And it's getting people more involved with understanding what's in their water and stuff. Everybody is, like you said, to your point, everybody's worried about their health and what's in their air. If you got kids, wouldn't you like to have, something like this sitting in the duct above your kid's crib? Like, and that's my wife, my wife's the one that actually came with the water quality thing. She was like, she spends so much money on water quality and RO and all this other stuff. And then she was like, well, why can't your system do this? I'm like, oh, let me find out. And so we went down that path and it was actually not too bad. So, we really focus in on the home's health. Like what a lot of these houses, people don't realize you're buying a brand new house and it's so airtight. All the VOC, everything that's off gassing is so terrible. Everybody loves a new car smell. They don't realize how bad that new car smell is for you. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the point of it is like your car tells you everything. What's your home tell you? Not a thing. Like all my cars, literally, I just had my assistant set up two of my cars to have service because not on our dash, but I got an email and a text message, and then the dealership called and said, hey, it's time for, this service. And so like your house doesn't tell you when you need a service. We set timers as contractors. Hey, every 6 months, we got to be out there. What if it's every 2? What if it's once a year? What if it's, every month? You don't know, but now you do. So that's, and we set a price point of $18.95. We felt like we reached out to tons of contractors asking, what price point. Oh, I can sell that for 5. I can sell that for 7. I can sell that for 9. I'm like, no. What do you think we should go to market with? So we came up with $18.95. We're going to put a price guide together for contractors to, you can up it a little bit, but how we look at it is you should be literally breaking even on this because you're going to reduce your marketing. You're going to reduce your warranty. You're going to reduce the frivolous calls. Like you're going to save money. So like I talked to some of the biggest guys out there. I got one client that wants to do it. He's got 65,000 maintenance clients. You know what he's doing with that? He's going to put all 65,000, give it to them all for free, add $10 a month to their maintenance contracts. That's it. Yeah. And right when he said that, because I never thought of that, I go, what? He goes, dude, I'm retaining every one of those clients. I don't have anybody having to call them. We're looking at the stuff and we're able to tell them ahead of time, hey, this is getting ready to go out, or hey, this is having a problem. Like that is huge. And when he said that, I was like, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's Apple. Apple built the ecosystem. If you buy an iPhone and your iMessage, your contacts, your photos, your everything is inside of iPhone, you're not going to go buy an Android. Yep. Just out of the convenience of you're already in the UI is different, their apps and software is different. So if you're the contractor, even if you take a loss to put that in a person's home, you are building the ecosystem for them. And now you're their point of contact for that thing that's connected to every other piece of their house. Like you're winning if you do that. Like it makes sense financially for you and for the homeowner to do that. They will save money
Yeah,
and you'll make more. It's a win-win.
all the way along. I mean, it's literally, you know, I was pretty much in awe when you start showing it to contractors. They started telling me how great it is and why hasn't it ever been done before, and why is it, a lot of it. You know, two things when I came into this is I wanted to make sure I stay connected, so we have ways to stay connected, and I wanted to go. You know, I don't want to talk about my house, but like any house, you go into the house and it could be a 1,500 square foot house. Your Bluetooth or Wi-Fi drop out.
Mm.
We use a different technology because that was one of my biggest things is I want to stay connected up to 900 feet away through concrete subterranean because this is going to go towards wells. This is going to go towards sump pumps. This is going to go towards like all these different things. Now we're staying connected to your entire home because each node does a lot more than just what I spoke about. There's other things to them that it can contribute to, but it's it's bits and pieces have been done out there, but nobody's brought it all together. Like one of our first patents was whole home connectivity. Everybody, all the lawyers told me, "No, you can't get that." And I'm like, "I don't understand." And they said, "Nope, nobody's, you're not going to be able to get that. Apple or Google would have it, or Amazon." And so I hired a good patent attorney, and she was awesome. She was just like, "What? I bet you I can get it patented." So right now, if I really wanted to, if I had the money, I could go sue Google and Apple because one of our patents is whole home connectivity. We're bringing the like you said, you know, the whole home together into one spot. And you're not going to want to buy something else. You're not going to want to go and we're not security. We're not like trying to do that. But we have open APIs where if you have some other product that you want to have on our app, good, go ahead. We can use the other technology as well. We try to do it where if people have other products and services that they like and they want to keep, great, go ahead. You can use ours. We're going to be the main primary, but we have an open API.
Yeah, I
So
think that makes sense. If you have the tech piece of it that connects with the other tech, sure. But really the hardware is at the end of the day, like you own that client, that customer if you have the hardware installed. So
well, what's great too is like a lot of you. I'm sure you've seen it on the news and stuff. Everybody's saying that engineers, software engineers, and software companies are having problems on the stock market and having problems all over the place. And you know, what's great about us is we own the software on three different levels. We had to create basically a dashboard for our contractor so the contractor can see all of them. And then we have the app, and then we have all the software that it all talks to, right?
yeah,
So we patented that, but we also have the physical. So we're not just a software company. We have the hardware too. And that's what a lot of these software companies are scrambling to find, you know, how do we stay relevant? Because with AI now, AI can reinvent all the different stuff that's out there if it's just software. Now, if it's hardware, it's different because it's truly, I learned a lot of lessons through this project, but one of them, hardware is considered hardware because it's hard.
yep,
It's not that it's like you can't break it, but it's hard. Like some of the
yeah,
stuff, like I'm amazed with Corey and his team. Scott, I got to give Scott two credit. Scott came out with all the different, shapes and stuff and sizes and so forth. But it's been a project. So blue collar kid starting off underneath the house, doing a side job on a weekend, listening to my brother-in-law smoke a joint with the client upstairs to being an app developer and all this other stuff. It's like people always go, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I have no idea. I've never been afraid of anything. I've always just like stuck it out there." The other thing I got to tell people is you got to have the right person on your side, whether it's a husband or wife, whatever it is. You got to have the right person that's backing you and like understands. You're going to do something, and that this is just follow me. Let's go, and that Christina's been just, head and shoulders above all people out there, even my own parents, they're like, "Keith, what are you doing? Why are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about me. Don't worry about it." So it's been good.
yeah. That's awesome, dude. I'm excited for you. I think this feels like the first smart home technology that's actually smart. I don't care if I can turn on my oven from the grocery store on my way home. That actually kind of feels like unsafe. You know what I mean? I don't know if I even really want to do that. And I definitely don't care if my refrigerator or whatever has like a TV screen. Like that does nothing for me. But yeah, what you've got is completely different. It feels smart. It feels like you said that's where things are headed for sure. I think the biggest piece is that you've created the win-win-win where you as hardware and software, obviously, you'll make your money, but the homeowner is gonna win as well. And like every person involved is getting something from it that they want. And I think when you create something like that, like you are clearly providing a unique solution that hasn't really been done before. You're looking at it from all the different perspectives, like the homeowners, how they're interacting with it, how the, tech or the trades person is interacting with it. And you've done it in a way where it's like, it's creating a lot of value for everybody. And we all know that, like, if you create value in the marketplace, you're surely to be rewarded for that. I think you guys are definitely going to be rewarded for that. So it's really
Yeah,
cool, man.
thank you. It's been there's so many different ways you can look at this thing, and it's not I'm not a do-gooder by any means, but I also wanted middle America. I remember growing up, we weren't wealthy or anything, so I remember growing up, my dad yelling about the lights being on, or what's costing him because he gets shocked by the utility bill or something like that. So that's why we wanted the price point where we're at, and if we could lower it, we're working on that even, because we feel like middle America should be able to um, budget their utilities and budget before, your air conditioner breaks down, or, those type things. And, we've had offers from, the LGs and all those people, but their thing is they want to shelf it. They don't want it to ever hit market because they have their LG fridge, their LG stove, their LG microwave, and that's its own little network. And that's what they consider smart. Ours can connect to a 50-year-old system or a brand new system. We don't variable speed, non-variable speed, heat pump. We don't care what brand, what it is. So that's like where we really were like pushing for something different. We wanted something that everybody could use. And this is, you know, I think back right now about my dad yelling at me. I remember I was probably like 5 years old, 6 years old, yelling at me because I had every light on in the house, but I was scared. I was a little kid. I was scared, but he was thinking his utility bill, utility bill, utility bill. But now and it tells you by the second, like what's costing you the most and where you're at. So, anyways, we took up way too much of your time.
No worries, man. I'm here for it. That was a great conversation. Um, if you got to take off, totally understand. If not, I got like three more
No,
questions I wanted to hit
go
on
ahead.
real quick.
No.
So dialing it back into like the HVAC side of stuff, if you had to pick one market to start a business HVAC company in today, where would you go and why?
Oh man, that's a good one. Franklin, Tennessee.
Why?
Very specific.
Mm, very
There's some.
specific. I've actually lived there before, so I know the area, which is even more curious to me why you'd say, that neck of the woods.
They have lots of weather, right? We're supposed to be weather enhanced, not weather driven, but they have lots of weather. Um, I feel like I know the companies that are out there. I know it'd be an easy market to step into. There's lots of money out there. Um, and I've been into some places and seen some jobs, through DMs of the installs that have been done out there. I think it's a prime market that would do very well. Um, there's that one, and I wouldn't say anything in California. I've been out in California almost my entire life, but the state makes it hard to do business. Um, yeah, Franklin, Tennessee. Charlotte is another one. Um, I really like Charlotte. I just see it as being a really good market. For indoor air quality, for one. I think there's a lot of mold issues out there that people don't even know about.
Mm.
Uh, Austin's overrated, I think, because I've heard a lot of people want to do Austin, Dallas, that type thing. I think the biggest thing is you got to feel like if I was to do it all over again, I would want to find a place where I would want to live and be a part of the community. So that's a big one. So I would love to, I want to move to Montana, not because of Yellowstone, but
I actually just watched that show. That's crazy.
but I love Montana. I love everything about it. It's just I'm an outdoorsy guy. So I think, because if you're starting a business, like if you went and started a business in LA, oh my God, you would hate life. LA, it's like 10 miles to get from, for 10 miles, it would take you, 3 hours to get there. It's like, why? And then all your tools are stolen, by the time you get to the job. So you gotta like where you're going. I don't know, do your market research, but there is a lot of good markets still available. I would definitely stay away from the big markets that have the big, monster companies. For a little while, if they just bought them, I would wait 2 years. But only reason why I say that is because people start understanding. You'll start seeing it in the reviews and stuff. People will start seeing it. But yeah, it would be Franklin, Tennessee. I think is a really good market. I see a lot of writing on the wall there.
Really interesting. That's one that I didn't really think about. I've been looking at North Carolina, Georgia, and South Florida. Anywhere like south of Virginia on the East Coast is something that's interesting for me. How do you feel about South Florida or just Florida in general?
Got lots of friends out there, lots of big companies out there, lots of private equity companies out there. Great market, definitely a great market. I had a friend, pick up a company for pennies on the dollar. And in 4 years, he flipped it for 15 million, and I think he paid 2 million for it. I think it was like, 3 years. So he got, huge exit. I like Florida. There's nothing bad about Florida at all. There's, you got your weather, you got storms all the time. There's probably a lot of rebuilds going on out there. Florida's a good market. It definitely, I think it's going to be really competitive out there. Got a lot of people that move out there. So it's a really big competitive market. I would like, the reason why I say Franklin, or any small, like even Charleston's pretty good size, but it's still relatively small. You got to find a small enough area where you can reach a little bit, but keep it to where you can start off slow and then grow out, and keep the area tight for yourself. So like me, I do 5 to 6 mile radius.
Yep.
You don't want to go, like most of these guys around here, they'll go drive 2.5 hours to get to a job. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, there's enough money in your backyard. Well, we're not getting calls over here, so we start marketing over there. I'm like, so you gotta pinpoint who your clients are in the area and make sure there's enough there to support what you want to do. And then eventually branch out further. There's no problem.
Okay. You had mentioned a couple times where you've kind of gone through the ringer with business partners and, that kind of just not working out or not going the way you thought it would, or, and I've had similar experience with that where it's like 3-6 months in, the money's starting to come in, people's extracurricular activities start to get amplified and in the way. And it's like, you're sitting here like, dude, I want to grow this fucking thing. I want to make this huge. And there, for them, it's like, this is the most money I've ever seen. Happier than a pig and shit. Let's go party and, do things that we shouldn't as business owners, and, take Saturday and Sunday off, and you can't. It's like all the personal shit that gets in the way with that sometimes. When you're doing business with people now, when you're vetting people now, what are some of the qualities or characteristics that you're looking at as being, like seeing them as like, this is someone that I, A, want to do business with, B, can see it working out long term, and kind of what are those things, and I mean, the red flags are probably pretty obvious, but what's the stuff that you see and you're like, yeah, that makes me like excited to work with this person. This seems like a good fit.
It's hard. This one's going to be a hard one for everybody. I rely on my wife. She has that gift,
Yeah.
and I literally, because I love everybody. I'm like, even people that hate me online or whatever, and oh, he's got a big head, he's done this, he's done nothing or whatever it is. I've always made everybody money that's around me, and I've like literally had a hard time like having that. Even people that have bashed me in the past, I still will help them. I'll still talk to them, whatever. And again, I'm not a do-gooder, but I know people make mistakes.
Mm.
I have been through the ringer so many times, and most of the time it's because I grew up different. My family, my dad's an immigrant. My grandparents are immigrants for sure. You know, Italian, Hispanic, full-blooded on one side, full-blooded on the other. But we always were like, our word was our word. So like I did a lot of deals without attorneys.
Mm.
One thing I could definitely say in my realm now is I really rely on my attorneys to do a lot of research and background. And then we rely, me and my wife will have long conversations about the pros and cons of bringing people in. Like right now, we're doing a early round of investing, and we have, we've had people offer us 20 million to invest in the company and blah, blah, blah. We've turned them down because once we started talking with them and looking at like their businesses and start talking to other people, they're like, oh, just stay away. And people do have their own quirks and so forth. But as soon as we start hearing that, we're like, I feel like no matter what you do in business, you should first and foremost use an attorney. Like, I have general counsel, and then I have 6 law firms on retainer. That's all from the hardware and software. Before, I've always had just, basically a law firm that would look over things here and there. And now I rely on it, and it's expensive, but it can save you money in the long run. So that would be my biggest advice, is just getting some sort of legal counsel that's been in that does business law, and make sure your contract's on your side.
100%. That's good advice. I don't think that, not to get all spiritual woo-ha or whatever, but women's intuition shouldn't be discounted or underrated either, for what it's worth.
Yes.
Sometimes the gut feeling, like they're intuitive creatures, man, and it's worth listening to. For the one time out of 10 that they'll be right in a big way. And it's like, you'll be thankful that you kind of heeded their counsel, So,
There's been times where I hate to say two different things. So there's been times where I'm all in, and I'm like, it just happened the other night. There's a big investor that wants to come in right now, and he's offering me the world. Doesn't want much. And he's on the number 3 podcast in the world, and he's a big time investor. And I got all excited. He shoots me a DM. We start texting back and forth, getting on a call, and I'm telling my wife, tomorrow I'm going to offer this guy 40% of the business. She goes, are you an idiot? He's reaching out to you. Why are you already coming up with your term? Why are you wanting to give up? What? Stop. Think about what you're saying right now. You know what your valuation is. You know what you're willing to do. Don't do that. And totally smart. Like, I was just so excited about this person because I listened to him every day, pretty much, every other day. And I was just like, wow, yeah, you're right. I'll stop that one. And then there's been other times where, she's told me I've given, some equity away to some of my, the people that are involved. And 2 of them we gave equity to. And, my current investors and my team have told me, let's do vetting, and we'll do a year, and then they'll get their equity and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it was a deal breaker for both of them and so forth. And we kind of went back and forth. And my wife goes, don't do it. Don't do it. So I talked to all my investors, and all my investors know these guys very well. And they were like, no. These guys are good guys. These guys, like, they're not going to. So I went against my wife. soon as I gave equity, I got a bill from one of them, and then I started getting some bills from another one, and then all of a sudden, it turned into, paying the bills, and then gone. I haven't heard from them. I'm like, I just gave, you know, almost $1 million away for nothing because I didn't listen to my wife. So it's hard. It's hard for me to go home and go, "You're right. Yep.
Yeah,
You're
those I
right."
told you so's hit a little different.
Yeah, definitely. That was that's brutal. But you gotta know, like, I always am looking for the smartest person in the room and make sure it's not me. And I've surrounded myself with a lot of smart people lately. And I say lately, but over the years, I've always like tried to go little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and it's worked out very well for me.
Mm, right on. Earlier, you had talked about how the private equity guys have no clue what's going on in the boots on the ground life of the, blue collar guy, and vice versa, where a lot of these guys that are starting HVAC or whatever business in the trades, it's like they start as technicians. They're like, hey, I can make more money doing this for myself. They start a business. They're not business owners. They can basically trip, fall, stumble their way to making $1 million if they just stay in business and exist long enough. But it gets to a point where scaling is going to be an absolute headache because the skills and the mindset that got them into the business and got them to the certain point is not the skills or the mindset that's going to take them any further. And that is like their ceiling most of the time. So what would be your advice to the trades guy that wants to scale his business and potentially sell it? And what's your advice to the private equity guy that has is very disconnected from what the real life experience of the people running and performing the day-to-day stuff in this business is, where maybe if you had to have a conversation where one's on one side of the table and the other is, sitting across from him and you need to bridge the gap and bring them closer together, what do you say to either side?
So for the skills, the skills side, I would definitely say, look, find yourself a mentor that's been there, grab a couple of them, start surrounding yourself with where you want to be. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but like, find good people, because there's a lot of guys out there. Yeah, I always, surround myself with good people, and they raise me up and they show me. No, find out like who's done it. Start talking to them more. Go to their businesses, see how they're doing it, like understand it, and make sure that you're understanding that what your P&L really is, right? Because that's where a lot of tradesmen go wrong. I didn't even know what a P&L was when I first sold my first company. So like understanding that portion of it is big, and getting that bridge to gap would be that right there. You don't need to be the smartest man on the planet. You just need to know, what your percentages should be. And that, I have a simple breakdown of the 10 commandments of like where your margins should be, percentages wise. And then you got the private equity guys. It's simple for the private equity guys. They need to go into the business itself. And you're not talking to the CEO of Blackstone. You're talking to the 5 or 6 guys that are in the deal itself as it's going through. Go out to the field, go walk these jobs, see what they're doing, see what it's like out there, spend a week in every position. Then they're going to understand a little bit more. I really feel like that would bridge that gap. Talk to guys on the private equity side. They should be talking to guys that have sold and where those guys sold and looked at their business and watch it crash. Because then they can go, look, most of the time when you sell a business, you have to leave a certain amount of money in for the next round and get another earnout. When those businesses don't do a second round and they crashed, now the owner's going to probably get back into it and buy it back for $1 and move on. But find out why. What was that difference? I have a group right now I help all the time, and they just did it again. They brought in a new CEO from out. He's from the trades, but he's not. He's big commercial refrigeration guy, running $200 million retrofit company. He knows commercial. He knows even the main guy told me, the president told me, I know in 6 months you're going to say I told you so. You really need to, as a PE, look at the business itself and look what those guys are doing out there in the field, and then also realize they're getting paid a certain amount of money because of their knowledge. It's not because they don't have a college degree. I don't care if you have a college degree. And I think that would bridge the gap a little bit more. I don't know what the right answer is for that. I know when I ran a massive company, we used to do the trade-offs where I would ride with, a tech. I would sit in the call center and answer phones. So I got the feel of every aspect of what the culture was happening and what was going on within the business. And that helped everybody. And we made everybody do that. Everybody in the company had to do that, all the way to the shop kid, the forklift guy, like everybody had to do all the different things and spend a couple hours doing it. And it gave so much props to the service technicians calling the attics, the installers, all the way down to the installers answering the phones. They'd screw up, laugh and joke, but they understood, like, they're just doing anything they can to get us work. And that was like a big difference. So I really feel that would help PE on both sides. I think both sides would help.
Sure. One more question for you. There's a lot of guys that when they start to hire and bring people on board, they kind of feel like they're always stuck, like putting the cart before the horse, where it's like there's different levels where you need to bring on more techs, and then you need the admin and like CSRs, call center stuff, and then like, more of the back end accounting, finance, all of that. And sometimes it's hard for them to figure out what piece they need next to grow because they haven't got to the point where they can see the whole chessboard, so to speak.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, if you were to look at like the org chart of your businesses, what is the most underrated player or department in that chart where most people don't hire soon enough, or if it's like a non-revenue producing employee or department, like, and they kind of sleep on it and don't think it's important as it is, what is that piece that more people should be looking at or considering?
That's a good question. Normally I would just right off the bat say dispatching, like a sole dispatcher, that's all they do because that's your money board. Um right now where I'm at personally, I brought on a personal assistant, which has been a game changer for me because I don't have to focus in on my day to day. She'll pay attention to everything for me because I'll forget half the stuff for me. But it's changed so much, and the reason why I'm saying I keep on saying that is we're doing an AI assistant right now, and we're giving it a shot to see how that works, and we're playing around with it, and you can get them to have it sounds like you're talking to a person. I think technology is probably your number one most looked over thing right now. So having somebody that can understand technology, and not my technology, I'm talking your hardware, your like what you're physically using, Field Pulse, Service Titan, Jobber, all these different ones that are out there. Somebody that knows that like the back of their hand, so you can pull the proper KPIs out. But also, like, that person is like a you think it's overhead. You're like, oh my God, why am I spending this money on this person? But I feel like it's somebody that can help you move the business faster, quicker, and escalate your entire team to another level. Like, again, it always used to be dispatching. Dispatching, somebody's handling my money board. I want to make sure that person knows what the heck they're looking at. That person knows what the technician's feelings were if they woke up that morning, stepped in dog shit. So don't send that guy to the 20-plus-year-old calls. This guy's fighting with his wife over here, so we got this guy left. So let's make him have a great day today, and he's going to get all the ones that are 20 plus years old or 10 plus years old, whatever it is. Instead, now it's like, now the screens tell it all. So you got to have somebody that knows the tech side. Service Titan, I was like with Service Titan 14 years ago. I was one of the first early guys on there, and it's expanded so much. But throughout that time, we didn't know how to work Service Titan. We were always fiddle around with it. We'd hire experts to come in, and we never understood it. So now, I just looked at a company called Workies, and this is shouldn't be a plug for them, but everything's built with AI. So it's like very comparable to some of these bigger platforms. And if you have somebody that understands technology, they can understand how to evolve that very quickly, and it will control your money board. It will control. I really think that depending on the size of the company, that, well, not even the size of the company, everybody should have somebody that knows technology in your business, period. Because especially with the new equipment that's out there as well, you got to understand that stuff, which we have a young kid. I say kid, he's 27, that, some of the manufacturers called him, hey, what? I don't understand. It's flashing all these codes and we can't figure it out. Okay. But having that technologist there, and having the owner have somebody to help them with their own schedule, because I take too much time on certain things that I shouldn't. And like, if right now, if I'm running over too late, she wouldn't care. But how my wife hired her was like, literally, she's 5 years with a brigadier general. She was his personal assistant, so she'll walk right in and, hey, do this to me if I had to go. Or like, we were in a meeting the other day with our Verizon rep, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna take this call. I'm gonna step out, because she just gave him the riot act. You're wasting my boss's time. Why are you like? You didn't come on. You came so unprepared. I gave you a list of everything. I was like, that is the type of stuff that I love to see, because she's taken like all that frustration and anger that I have to deal with, like with a rep or somebody else that should have already had it done and told us they could do it. That's a huge help.
Yeah,
That's a big
right
help.
on. Yeah, the personal assistant piece, love that 100%. We've got guys on the team that are really, logistically kind of taking care of stuff too. And then like as a marketer, I'm exposed to a lot of the bleeding edge tech with AI and automation and all of that stuff. And we have spent in the past 3 months most of our time and resources on figuring out and just staying up to date with what is happening and how that affects our business, our service, but also how we can turn around, package that, and deliver it to business owners as well. And that has, like, some of the stuff that we've done with image and video generation for social media, I think is where we kind of have some stuff where it's like, don't see a lot of other, agencies or consulting people offering that. And then also the data piece that you mentioned is huge too. And I think from what I've seen, and I do all the sales and stuff as of right now, I think the thing that closes people the most is we're able to offer data that proves beyond a reasonable doubt what we're doing is effective or not. And that, as the business owner, tells you and us really, like, if we're making the right plays and doing the right things. But also it tells you what levers need to get pulled next to fix that and make those numbers better. At the end of the day, like, the way that we view everything is it's just a series of inputs and outputs. We're looking at number in versus money out. And there's a couple bottlenecks and a couple pieces along the way where if you tweak a conversion rate by a couple percent, what the number in versus number out looks like changes completely. And you'd be surprised what a 3 or 5% lift on certain things can do for a business. So it's like, if you can offer someone those numbers and give them concrete data on, like, here's how your business operates. And if you can see it, outside of just, it's not an HVAC business anymore. It's literally just a series of these numbers and these equations where it's like, if we put this in, what do we get on the other side? If you can get a business owner to see their business like that, it becomes really crystal clear for them, kind of like what is actually going on here, and then we can make better decisions moving forward if we tweak those numbers and fix the right things in the right order. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's the point of that. I mean, you got to have somebody understanding what that is. And, I think with AI, everything's moving so fast. When we first started our other project, it was going to take over a year for, AI to understand a home. Now we're talking 3 months. By the time we're launched, early Q1, where we're going full blown, it's going to take less than a month. It'll probably take 4 or 5 days for it to understand a home. That's how fast AI is moving. And a lot of people curse it and everything else. I've always, change with the times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
if you're not growing, you got to keep growing. You got to keep growing.
Yeah, 100%. Keith, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Tell people where they can find you. We'll make sure that we get all the links from you guys to put in the description below. So if people want to check out some of your, social media stuff, your guys' website, your product, Home Guardian, tell them where they can find all that stuff, and we'll put it down in the description for them.
Yeah, very simple. You can find me HVAC God on Instagram. It's pretty much on everything. LinkedIn, you can find me. Home Guardian is HG Home Guardian on LinkedIn and Instagram. Facebook we use a little bit, but it's kind of a dying breed over there. Substack, HVAC God. But if you just go on my personal HVAC God on Instagram, which everybody's on Instagram, you can find all the links, and it literally will drive you wherever you want to go. And there's tons of stuff about Home Guardian and how to do business. And it's not just a business page, it's my personal page too. So you'll see a lot of stuff with my family and all that other stuff. I kind of mix it all up. So, and if you got questions, one of the big things is like, I do a podcast and people got questions and they want more deeper answers. Shoot me a DM. I talk to everybody. I do. I might not get back to you today or tomorrow, but I'll get back to you and I'll have some answers for you.
Right on. Cool, guys. We'll go check that out. Keith, been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you later. Peace.
Same here.